Everybody, to another Leader Factor Live. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are joining us from. We probably won't have a ton of people on today's stream. This is just an ad hoc improv stream where we're going to be doing a little bit of an overview on features and functionality regarding the 4 stages team survey. So if you're seeing this, you're probably somewhat familiar with the 4 stages of psychological safety. If you're not, I would highly recommend that you check that out first, leaderfactor.com. You can learn a little bit more about who we are and what we do. My name is Junior. I'm the head of product here at Leader Factor, and my team and I are in charge of the 4 stages application. The purpose of that application is to measurably improve psychological safety. So inside the platform, we educate what is psychological safety. We have online courses, we have workshops, we have a whole host of resources to teach. Then we have measure, which is what we're going to be talking about today, the 4 stages team survey. We've been working on this nonstop to improve the features and functionality, the experience, and the reporting. That's going to be the majority of today's stream, is showing some of the new releases when it comes to reporting, aggregate reporting, heat maps, demographic support. There are a bunch of new things that we're really excited to share with you. And then improve. We have action planning and a bunch of really cool things that are in beta, so stay tuned. In the coming weeks, we will be releasing a new version of the ladder of vulnerability. That is going to be debuted on the upcoming webinar. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for the webinar, we'll go ahead and link to that. We're very excited about that. We've been on hiatus from the webinar scene for some time, and we're really excited to jump back in and share with you the ladder of vulnerability. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go through the 4 stages team survey. So you can see this here. I'm inside the platform, inside measure in the navigation. So it's broken out into 3 categories: learn, measure, improve. Learn about psychological safety, measure it, improve it. So we're going to be talking about measure. I've clicked inside team survey. And for those of you who are administrators inside the platform, perhaps you've been certified in the past. You're an organizational admin that does internal training. Many of you that are probably tuning into this stream or seeing it after the fact have a user inside the application who has access to these types of things. If you have run surveys in the past, you inherit all of the changes that we've made over the last few weeks. Usually we're pushing updates once every week or 2, and so this is constantly becoming better. So inside team survey, I'm in a demo account. I'll see a list of teams with which I've run the survey in the past. So I'm going to click into this one. When I click into a team, I see a list of all completed surveys. So should I run additional surveys, those would show up in the same place. If I click into this, the first thing I'll see is participation. So if I'm monitoring this, I'm obviously going to keep tabs on participation, and I have actions available to me like send reminders, and export user data, a lot of things that I can do inside here, sending individual links, but I'm not going to spend too much time there. Here are the actions available to you. Send reminders. And as a reminder to all of you, these reminders go out automatically to those who have yet to complete the survey. It's one of the measures that we've put in place to preserve anonymity. There are a lot of those throughout the survey. Download report takes this entire web report, puts it into a PDF, and kicks it over like this. This is something that I can use if I want to take the report offline, if I want to send it in an email, so on and so forth. I also have export verbatim responses to CSV. This is a new feature. So if we're looking at an aggregate report or just a single team's report, we can export all of those verbatim responses to do deeper analysis. If we want to look at trends, keywords, or phrases that are used a lot throughout the verbatim comments, we can run analysis on those and see patterns and trends. Archive survey, close survey, share results with team members. This will take all of the data and send it out to those who participated in this particular survey. So here's the welcome for measure. This report shows your group's level of psychological safety across the 4 stages. That is its purpose. And as a reminder, for those of you that are just tuning in, what is psychological safety? An environment or culture of rewarded vulnerability. Here's some of the new additions. We call areas of high psychological safety blue zones, as we've talked about before, but we've implemented that into the report, which I'll show you today. And areas of low psychological safety, we call red zones. Those are environments of punished vulnerability. We have now the 4 stages score, red zone and blue zone score. So this report is going to look a little bit different than it has in the past. We've consolidated a lot of the important information, made it much simpler and easier to interpret. One of the biggest changes that we've made is a move to the Nps Style Scale. We've always had a 0 to 10 point scale, 11 points total, but the way that we're categorizing those responses is different. So if I click inside the rating key, it will show me what goes where. Blue zone represents all responses 9 and 10. Red zone 0 to 6, and neutral zone 7 to 8. This has made the report much more actionable. If you're going to look at the report and you're only going to look at one number, I want you to look at this big one here. This number, 10 in this case, is the result of taking our blue zone, which is 42, and subtracting our red zone, 32, which leaves us with 10. So the overall score for this team inside the survey is 10. We can influence this number by doing a couple things. We can decrease our red zone. We can increase our blue zone. So down here, we have the same data listed a different way with a couple additions. You'll see the response rates down here as well as the percentile. We have several 100,000 responses across all users. Now, this allows us to do really, really cool things with the data. And one of the things that we've included is percentile. So you can see how this particular team stacks up against the rest of our global normative database. Those responses are coming from all over the world across all sorts of industries. One of the things that is on the roadmap for the future is geography benchmarks and industry benchmarks. So we're really excited to be able to release those. Next thing on the report, you'll see the top 3 strengths and the top 3 opportunities. Now, it's important for me to mention the range of possible scores is from negative 100 to 100. Negative 100, you would see here if you had 100% red zone and nothing else. And on the flip side, 100 would be blue zone, filling up the entire circle. So down here, when you see it like this circle over here represents the score of the item, 57. And then you have it laid out this way with blue zone, neutral zone, and red zone. So these are the highest performing 3 items on the survey. And here are the lowest scoring 3 items of the survey. I go down to results by stage. This helps me see kind of a high level trend across each stage: inclusion, learner, contributor, and challenger. Now, as I scroll down, I will see each stage in greater detail. So inclusion safety, and I see 38 is my score for inclusion. I've got a blue zone of 57 and a red zone of 19. I've got 24 neutral. Now, what would I say if I were to put this score in narrative form? It would probably be something like this. On average, this team, when engaging in an act of vulnerability that deals with inclusion, it could be something like introducing yourself, asking someone's name, how to pronounce it, seeing if someone wants to go to lunch with you, those types of inclusion behaviors. Are those punished or are they rewarded? In this case, this team says on average, they are rewarded 57, 19, punished. So I come down here to the items themselves. I'm accepted as a member of my team. I'm treated with respect. I feel included by the people I work with. This one's significantly lower than the other 2. If I click into this item, it will show me the score in radio form, and then it'll give me recommendations, a few things that I can think about and do to improve that score over time. And then beneath those bars, I see the verbatim responses. What is one thing that prevents you from feeling included on your team? Not asking enough questions, more team meetings are needed. I do feel included. People say things they don't mean. I don't get invited to important meetings. So those qualitative responses are very important to juxtapose against the quantitative responses. See if there's any dissonance or if they line up really well. Next, we move down to learner safety. It's laid out exactly the same way, just for that particular stage. And the same is true for the subsequent 2 stages. Now, down in challenger safety, this one's interesting. And across most teams, you'll see that it's the lowest performing stage. We've got a negative 29 in this case. Negative numbers mean that my red zone is bigger than my blue zone. And it really helps when you're looking through teams' results to see that negative. That means, hey, there's something here that I need to pay attention to. There's something here that's probably not going very well. So that is kind of a litmus test for you to see if there's real serious dysfunction. It's not necessarily the case, and it's also not necessarily the case that a positive number means that things are okay, but generally gives you something to look at that could be very important. So down here in Challenger Safety Results, I look at the 3 items. This one is particularly stark. I can take reasonable risks without being punished. Only 14% blue zone on this one, 57% red zone. That means what? That acts of vulnerability related to taking risks are consistently punished inside this team. And relative to the rest of the world, they're even more punished, 15th percentile. So this is the new team report. We're very happy with it. And the clients with whom we've used it are also very, very happy with it. We've seen great response so far. So that's just one single intact team. We've taken this reporting methodology and we've extrapolated it out across several different reports. We have heat map and we have aggregate reporting. So I'm going to go through those. I won't spend too much time, but I wanted to show you how these work. So I'm going to change these filters real quick to make it easier, and then we'll go into detail. I'm looking at my 4 stages score across all the teams that took their first survey. And you can see my range of scores runs from 97 down to negative 14. So if I want a quick snapshot view as to how my teams are doing, this is a great place to go to see, okay, I've got quite a bit of spread and really big range. So if I come to options, it will give me options inside the filters. I can go into 4 stages score, all stages, and response rate. What that will do is it will break out the 4 stages score. It will show me my stage scores, and it will also show the response rate. So at first, this may seem a little bit busy, but once you understand what it does, it's pretty straightforward. Another thing that I can do is I can sort not only by overall, but I can sort by stage. So let's say I want to look just at inclusion. I can do that. Let's say that I want to look at just one particular item. I can do that as well. I'm treated with respect. Or let's say I feel safe disagreeing with the way my team does things. That was a relatively low scoring item. I've got a negative 75 down here, something that I probably want to check on. So really cool to see how the heat map has evolved over time and some of those filtering capabilities. Now, we're going to go into aggregate reporting, and this is where some of the most powerful reporting lives, especially for large enterprises. So if I go into here and I click select a view, I can choose to create a new view. And I'll do this just to show you how this works. Let's go test 6. I create this new view, and it will take me to the setup page. It will show me I can pick teams one by one. So if I want to group multiple teams together, it will allow me to do that. I also have available to me any of the demographic data that was provided on the front end. So that's something that we now support with the 4 stages team surveys, demographic data. So along with the participant information, first name, last name, email address, we're also going to have team assignment, which is something we get by default. And then things like geography, age, tenure, gender, anything on which you want to report, you can throw into that user data on the front end, and that will allow us to pull reports after the fact based on those demographics. So here in the sample, I've got job title, department, tenure, location, and age range. So I can come in here, I click edit. So let's say I want to look at the job title HR. And I want to look at tenure less than a year. Maybe I don't have enough responses to build this particular report. We'll see if I do. I don't have enough responses. So if I reset this, let's pick one. Maybe let's go Boston. I want to look at a particular geography. So what that will do is it will take the demographic selection, location Boston, and it will create a report based on all of the respondents. So it looks like I've got 299 people in Boston, 63% participated. Here's my 4 stages score, and the rest of the reporting is laid out exactly the same way as the team report that I shared earlier. Really cool to see how this works. And from a research perspective, we're finding really, really interesting trends across these demographics. A sneak peek, one of what that I'll share with you, is that we are finding that 4 stages scores decrease with age. Really interesting. Not public findings yet, but as you can imagine, we're gathering tremendous amounts of data and we're starting to be able to see really interesting patterns and trends. And you can see all of those trends inside your organization. If there are big differences by geography, if there are big differences by ethnicity, a lot of really cool things that you can do inside aggregate reporting. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you is in beta, but I think that many of you are going to find it interesting. It's an org chart. Now, what we have done is allow for all of the data necessary to be uploaded on the front end regarding org charts. So we have a managed by column that you can fill out that will really build an org chart for you. After that's uploaded into the system, there's nothing you need to do. The system will do it all for you. And it will show you each layer of the organization and the 4 stages scores by team. This is really, really neat. One of the things that we're talking more and more about is this conversation around succession planning. Should we be hiring and promoting using psychological safety as a criteria? Now, if you start talking about using 4 stages scores as promotion criteria, it becomes fascinating what you can do. And so if I come into some of these teams, let's say I want to look at a successor for Marjorie, and I'm going to come in here. Okay, Seth Bryan, this is all sample data, anonymous, by the way, just to be clear again. But, Seth is not performing so well. Christian looks like he's got a little bit of a red zone. I don't have enough data in these ones to see. Maybe it's going to be okay. I've got a 92 and a 97 here. Maybe they're interesting candidates. I can pop into their teams, look at the results. So really cool what you can do with the org chart. We're working on making this exportable. Really excited to see what will happen in the future with org chart. So those are the main components that I wanted to show today. The new team survey using red zone, blue zone, the new heat map, the new aggregate reporting functionality with savable views, and the org chart. So to kind of loop all of this back, why do we do this? Psychological safety is a culture of rewarded vulnerability. We want to see how vulnerability is being treated inside our teams and organizations. Is it being punished? If so, we probably have low psychological safety. Is it being rewarded? If so, we probably have high psychological safety. But we want to look by stage. This is the only way to measure psychological safety across the 4 stages: inclusion, learner, contributor, and challenger. So that's what we're about here at Leader Factor, is helping you measure and improve psychological safety on your teams and organizations. So hopefully this update has been helpful to you. As a reminder, for those of you who have run surveys in the past, all of this will be applied to your historical reports. So you don't have to worry that you didn't get this new functionality. You'd be grandfathered in. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't yet, go back to those surveys that you've run in the past, look at the results, look at the new features and functionality. I think that you'll find it to be incredibly powerful. And for those of you who have yet to experience the 4 stages team survey, I would encourage you to check it out. If you have any questions regarding what it is, what the items are, validity and reliability, how we've used it at Leader Factor with our clientele, you can see some of our client list on the website. More and more organizations are opting in to psychological safety. It is a category that is not going away. So if you want the most out of your people, you want retention, you want to attract the best talent and make sure that you have the situation conducive to innovation and inclusion, psychological safety is something that you need to look into. We're here to have that conversation with you, so don't hesitate to reach out. With that, I will sign off for today and hope to see you on the upcoming webinar, The Ladder of Vulnerability. If you haven't registered yet, go ahead and do that. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.